Hello, everybody, and welcome into Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented to you by Betway. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog, joined alongside by Adam Pedlin. We're coming to you from the last episode of 2024. Happy New Year, everybody. Lots of stuff happening over the holiday season, folks, in terms of the free agent market, trade market, everything market, kind of defining what some teams are going to look like in 2025. We're going to talk all about that, and then also the remaining guys on the market: Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander, Alex Bregman. Where the hell are they going to go? Are they going to pull like a Blake Snell of last year and hold out to the final moment, or are they going to find a home very soon? We're going to get into all of that and more. Before we do, hit that like, smash the subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts about all of this or questions that you have for some upcoming podcasts down below. Adam, Christmas season all over, holiday season. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. I mean, obviously those who watch this podcast know we're big Blue Jay fans, and you know what? It was nice to just separate myself from the Blue Jays for 1 week, and then now coming back into it, I'm like, wow, okay, they suck. I stopped like convincing myself, getting myself hope that oh yeah, they're gonna do something, and then I'm watching all these guys leave the boards like Corbin, which we're gonna talk about. I'm like, you know what? I'm done with the hope. I'm done like trying to convince myself and trying to convince people that they're gonna be good. This is who they are, and they're never gonna change. So you know what? I'm refreshed. It's like I have a new mindset coming into the new year, man.
Yeah, I get it, man. I mean, like, for all baseball fans out there, you were kind of hoping that, yeah, Santa Claus was going to show up, but then also, you know, GM Steinbrenner or GM Atkins or whoever it might be was also going to leave you a fancy present under the Christmas tree. And, you know, for some teams out there, that certainly did happen for the Toronto Blue Jays and many other organizations. That was not the case. So, yeah, I do feel the same way. I felt like maybe I was a little bit earlier to jumping on that train of stupidity than you were. But happy to have you on board, buddy. Welcome in.
Yeah, we're here, and it's sad and it's depressing. But let's talk about, you know, the guys who are left right now on the board.
Someone that could save us, potentially.
That could save us. Well, let's get back into it, because apparently the Blue Jays and many others are interested in this guy right here, which is Pete Alonso. Blue Jays, Giants, Mariners, and then you've got, of course, the New York Mets are all interested on Pete Alonso right now, as he is kind of, I guess, him, Bregman, and Anthony Santander are the last big remaining bats. Those are the three, man. Those are the three, and like, you know, Alex Bregman is a great Gold Glove defender, so Anthony Santander coming off a 44 home run year. But then you got Pete Alonso, who's the second oldest. He's I think Bregman's a little bit older.
Yeah.
But still, 30 years old, first baseman, doesn't offer much defensively apparently. And that's been a big problem for Pete Alonso in the market. Talk to me a little bit about like what's going on with Pete Alonso and why aren't things getting done sooner rather than later?
Right now, there's actually a lot of speculation, about him and his camp, and God only knows how much of this is true. But I saw an article titled this morning saying that Pete Alonso and Scott Boras are panicking right now because there was an offer that they received very recently from those New York Mets, and these guys are known to spend, right? $700 or $65 million they gave out to Juan Soto, so like they don't shy away from spending money. They offered Pete Alonso, which was their homegrown star, right? Like their guy that, led the league in RBIs a couple years ago with 131 and, won Rookie of the Year with them. They offered him a 3-year deal for $90 million.
Wow.
And, that is just nowhere close to what it is that he's looking for. He's reportedly been trying to get a contract. The range was $175 to $200 million. And honestly, when you look at the offensive production, you say to yourself, yeah, right? 34 home runs last year. That was the lowest that you've ever had.
Right.
You're looking at a career OPS of 854. Tons of RBIs year in, year out. That doesn't seem like too much, but the market for him just is not there right now. And, for the homegrown team to be offering you less than half of what you're looking for, I mean, it's tough times right now for Pete Alonso.
I know it is, and it's interesting because you look at Pete Alonso's history and his past, and you're like, wow, like this is a great this is a great player. Like he's had many years where he had over 40 home runs, 3 years, in fact, including his rookie year. And then the OPSs have all been over 800. But this is the first year where Pete Alonso, and it's unfortunate for him, where it dipped below 800. The home runs dipped below 40. And for a guy like Pete Alonso, you kind of need the home runs to be there. And in the past, like, he has great batting average. Like, back in 2022, he had a 271. 2021, he had a 262. Like, that paired up with the great home run numbers is like, wow. Give me 150, give me $200 million for this guy. Like, that's an amazing player. But he drops down to 240. The OPS below 800. The homers down to 34. And then, you're like, wow, the age's starting to get up there. And you're like, well, is he regressing here? Or is there still good years ahead of him, right? Like, what do you make of this, Nick?
Well, listen, man. Look, people are gonna have up games, down games, up years, down years. Across the board, yeah, the numbers were a little down, but like they're not enough for me to be like scared or shying away from giving this guy a lot of money. I still think that Pete Alonso, just turning 30, by the way, it's not like he's gonna be 31 or anything. Like 23 days ago was his birthday, December 7th. So happy. Belated
birthday
there, Pete Alonso. But, the guy just turned 30. We've seen time and time again, like, some of these slugger types, like, they can go until they're 34 years old. And I guess for me, watching his game, I project that to be the case for him. I still believe in the bat, and I think that it's going to, at the very least, be at the level that you saw last year,
right,
for several years. And even that, it's like still 34 home runs and a 788 OPS in today's MLB. Like, that's pretty fucking good still.
Yeah.
Like, that is really, really elite. So I'm honestly, personally, not as concerned as I guess some other MLB teams are, but I'm not the one giving out the paychecks because you got a couple anonymous GMs. This was from an article from Mark Feinstein. A couple of quotations right here that you kind of jump off the page to you. One anonymous, or I shouldn't say GM, excuse me, executive, somebody high up right there, came out and said, he's in his 30s and is a right-handed first baseman who is good, but probably had his best year already. I don't know if that's true or not, but okay, fine.
He's taking a guess. Yeah. I understand why they say that. Yeah.
Sure, okay. He's not a defender and not an athlete. But he has no issue with the spotlight. He hits homers and hits them in big spots. He's a tough one. That's kind of him just like evaluating, well, the market's really tough and everything like that. I honestly think it's a little disrespectful to be like he's not an athlete,
Like he's a different kind of athlete, guys. He's a big slugger kind of guy. That's totally different than what we're used to, Absolutely.
Yeah, like, is he the same athlete as Mookie Betts is? Absolutely not.
Right.
But, still, the guy does play Major League Baseball. So, anyways, that's what one executive had to say.
Right.
Another one, that's a National League executive, came out and said, Pete's in a tough spot. There doesn't seem to be a big market for him because of his defense. And with so many first basemen out there, nobody's in a rush to overpay any of them. Now, granted, this was when Christian Walker was still on the board and a couple other guys. This article is like a week old at this point.
Josh Bell got signed, so he was still on the board. Santana.
Point being, though, it does feel like a lot of these executives are kind of looking at the defense and athleticism of him and being like, we don't want to give the money for him.
Yeah, and like you do look at, his baseball reference and you're like, yeah, I get it. Like he had a fielding run value of 11, but also like how many first basemen have a fielding run value over 50? Being like an upper percentile. So not many because you're not really there's a reason why you're first baseman because you're not very good defensively. And like he committed 7 errors last year if you're an old baseball guy. I mean, that's not the worst either. You played in a lot of games. You had 608 at-bats and you only committed 7 errors. That's pretty good in my opinion. And like I get it. I'm looking at the other free agents right now. I'm looking at the average annual value. Because what was the projected contract? $90 million for 3 years. That's $30 million per year.
So that was the offer from the Mets.
That was the offer from the Mets. $90 million for 3 years. I mean, that's a great AAV. But I guess people are worried about, well, you are coming off a down year. Are you going to age well? Like, if you after year 3. Am I going to be regretting that I'm keeping you at first base for this long? I look at some other guys that got signed this year. Christian Walker, granted he is 33 years old, 3 years older than Pete Alonso. He had a better year than him, I guess, in terms of just OPS and also home runs. He did have a lot less, 26, but he got paid for $20 million per year. Granted, there's some age right there, but $20 million for 3 years. So, like, the market isn't too far off from what the Mets have kind of offered him. I get it. I would be a little bit scared too, locking him down for like 5-6 years. Like, how is that guy going to age? We don't know. So, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough position for him, but like, I totally understand where they're coming from.
I do get it from both sides, because again, like I think about Pete Alonso, and I genuinely think that he's a star, and I, like maybe I'm this is swaying me a bit, and it shouldn't, because baseball, there's so many different games and stuff, but I'm thinking about this past postseason run. I remember there was a very specific, I forget all of the situation and everything like that, but the New York Mets had their backs up against the wall. They were looking like they were going to lose. I think it was to the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah,
I think
and they
it
had
was.
a walk-off. Not a walk-off, but a go-ahead.
But Pete Alonso, in like the clutchest of clutch moments, like hits an absolute moonshot for like 3 runs or something like that.
Take the lead.
And takes the, in the late innings type thing. And that's valuable to me, right? And I there's a lot of teams out there that I think don't have that type of guy, and we've seen other guys fly off the board. Christian Walker's great, but I don't think I've ever seen him in that moment do that. Maybe that's because that team's never been there.
Maybe 2 years ago with the Diamondbacks, I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I still think that Pete Alonso is a very valuable guy. Maybe he's not a $200 million dude. But like I think about a contract like a George Springer, for instance, was that 6 years, 150?
6 years, 150, and I guess the value George gave you was, well, I was an MVP in the World Series. I won a World Series. I was at my prime when I was signed. Like, I was hitting a high batting average. I stole a few bases. Granted, I did have injury history. That was the one concern, but I had a lot, and I had the power, and I played a very perennial position in center field. So it's like, okay, I could kind of understand that, and also we got to factor in the Blue Jays probably overpaid and gave you a little bit extra. That was the big thing at the time. They gave him too many years that no one was willing to offer him because of the injury, because of the risk of like, oh, maybe this guy will fall off eventually, which he did. So you got to have to factor that in. So, and also going back to your point of like Pete Alonso being elite and clutch. Hey, he's been pretty clutch. That stat we're looking at postseason, like win probability added for an offensive player. He's always in the positive for every series he's ever been in.
That's pretty good, man. I mean, he's always contributing in the in the postseason. So I mean, that right now is kind of how the market's shaping up for Pete Alonso, and it's not is really what's happening
it's
right now.
Down.
Yeah, and so. I mean, I definitely think he's an above $100 million guy. Like, I would be kind of laughing the Mets out of the room if they offered me $90 million. But it's getting to that point now where you've probably seen roughly where you're going to be living. You know, like you should know by now if somebody's going to be willing to give you $200 million. It feels like they're not. So it might have to be a pivot situation for Pete Alonso. Who knows? Maybe it even is like I sign a 1 or 2 year deal and then try again and do what Christian Walker just did.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you also got to think about going back to the very beginning of this whole conversation. Who's interested in you? You had the Giants that missed out on Corbin Burns. The Jays missed out on Corbin Burns. It's always funny how it ends up like this, eh? Giants and Jays are in on all the big guys. They all go to the big teams, and then who's left? The Jays and the Giants. And then the Mariners are also in on the mix, and then, of course, your Mets.
Listen, we're jumping around a little bit right here, but, obviously I feel bad for the Jays because I live in Toronto and it sucks. But I also feel bad for the Giants, too, especially with the Corbin Burns situation that happened. Because, so he goes to the Arizona Diamondbacks for $210 million, 6 years, lots of money, but less money than what the Blue Jays and specifically the Giants offered. The Giants were offering, roughly around the $250 million mark. And, the whole conversation was, well, they're in California. They're a, relatively good team. He was a Cali guy, everything like that. And still Corbin Burns said, fuck it, and went to Arizona. Well, he does have a house over there, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a residence in Phoenix.
Like, okay, that's fucking random. Like, why do you have that? But, anyways. It's silly to me.
Well, the thing was, and fans speculate on this a lot, but I mean, it came out as facts. He went there because of the taxes.
Yes,
because he would have paid more in taxes going to California or Toronto than he would in Arizona.
That was Bob Nightingale said something about that, and I'm sure that there's a lot of different factors, but obviously that is going to come into play when you're talking about the amounts of money that these guys are talking about, right?
Yeah.
30% in taxes is a lot when it's $200 million or more than that.
Oh, so, absolutely, right.
And that's effectively what you'd be probably even more than that in Canada, actually.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But either way, yeah, I just feel bad for the Giants because, honestly, if I was an MLB player, I'd want to go play with them if they were offering me a ton of money.
Sure.
But, apparently they lost out again.
Oh, they lost again. Let's transition there because, I think we kind of exercised the Pete Alonso conversation. Let's transition off
fine,
that.
but before we leave, where's he going to sign?
Probably Mets, honestly.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, if that's the market value, the Jays aren't going to budge. Giants, I don't know, it's way across the country. Yeah, probably Mets.
I'm gonna go with the Giants. I think that
they do it.
Yeah, I think that they're showing a willingness to really go out and spend. Getting Adames, showing that they were close to getting Corbin Burns.
Right.
I think they'll pull the trigger here. I think they can beat $90 million.
Fair enough. If they do that, I'm looking at their lineup right now. They got a legit shot to.
That's not bad, right?
To win, not win, but make the postseason.
Well, sure, yeah. Right, and obviously the Dodgers are the Dodgers, and we're gonna talk about some over/unders later. Yeah. That's recently been released by Vegas. Spoiler alert: Dodgers are 10 wins above any other team, which is fucking insane. But you think about it, and the Giants are they're probably not as good, but if they bring in Pete Alonso, it's I could see a reality where they're kind of there with the Padres type thing, and
100%. I mean,
competing for second in that division.
Obviously, these guys got to prove it yet again, but your lineup would look like Young-Hoo Lee, Willie Adames doesn't have to prove anything, Lemay Watt Jr. It would be Pete Alonso, Matt Chapman, Tyler Fitzgerald had a good rookie year. He batted 280 with a slugging almost 500. And then after that, you kind of just defense.
You got it. There's going to be there's definitely some question marks still, but part of the reason why I think they should go out and get Pete Alonso.
Yeah, they need to go get another bat. So, but let's talk about that guy they missed, Corbin Burns. You already mentioned it. He went for $210 million over the Arizona Diamondbacks.
It was the opt-outs too, man.
Oh yeah, the opt-outs.
The opt-outs are big.
I'm kind of shaky on the details.
So I'll tell you right now and this is I think that this is the direction that you're really starting to see some of these premier talents go in. They want those opt-outs. They want to have the flexibility, and I get it. It does make sense. I'm kind of surprised that teams are even willing to do this because, you lose a lot of leverage as a team at once, your guy is, opting out after 2 years. But effectively, it's a 2-year opt-out. So he's going to be with the Diamondbacks for 2 seasons, and then he's going to have an option to opt out at that point. And for him being Corbin Burns, right, you put up 2 more quality years, healthy years. We've seen older pitchers, especially in today's generation, get paid a shitload of money. We watched Max Scherzer at age 37 get paid a ton, and Verlander and Cole and all those guys. Older pitchers can definitely get paid. So that's effectively what it is. And when you had your AL East teams and your Giants teams, from my understanding, there was no opt-outs. Right. So you had the taxes, you had the relocation, you had all that, but this is one of those things for Corbin Burns where it's okay, well, if the team is shit or if I'm playing really good, see you later.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fantastic, and I really do think, like you said, that this is where things are kind of transitioning to. I think you have to give big time players that little extra incentive to get them because we know. I mean, think about the Diamondbacks. That was a shocker to everybody. Nobody was talking about the Diamondbacks being out of the mix. Whenever they tweet something, it's it's Jays, Giants, and several other teams.
Mystery team.
That was the mystery team right there. One of the several other teams was the Arizona Diamondbacks. But you have to do it. I mean, Juan Soto got some options, right? Now you're seeing Corbin Burns get the options. I think it's something you have to do, and if teams don't adjust to that, it's like the deferral of money too. If you want to be a competitive team, you have to include some form of that. If you don't start adjusting to that, you die.
Well, it's just because it is so competitive these days to go out and get these big time free agents, right? And if you're not willing to do it, then another team will. I hate it actually, because I just hate that the way that it's all structured because sure, it makes sense, but when you are a premier talent like that, it feels like you get away with so much, and what if Corbin Burns just doesn't care anymore, or what pulls a Javi Baez type thing? It really sucks because the difference between being a premier talent and then being kind of just a middling guy, you almost have no leverage when you're a middling guy. Whereas if you're Corbin Burns, you just get all the leverage in the world. Yeah. I would love to see something kind of happen in the MLB, a bit of a shift where teams, don't give in as easily. Will include opt-outs if you include incentives for your play.
Right.
Because I've always just thought that
incentives are great.
Great, but obviously players don't want that because well, now I got to keep performing well and everything.
Well, I guess maybe that only shift if everyone started doing the opt-out thing. And then it's like, well, what else can sweeten the deal? I guess maybe if I do play good, you can give me a little bit more. I guess that would be the only way.
Maybe I don't know, man. Or alternatively, everybody is just like, we're not giving you opt-outs anymore, and that's just completely
strike.
It's like we're just not gonna do
You're
it.
not gonna play baseball.
Yeah, So I don't know what it is, but like either way, man, like Corbin Burnes gets a lot of money, and we'll have an option to get more money in 2 years.
Right. Well, let's talk about the team who you just joined, which is the Arizona Diamondbacks. Like, last year they had a little bit of a step back year. They had 89 wins last year.
Did they make the playoffs?
Wait, yeah, like
I don't. Did they?
They didn't. Like,
yeah.
I'm looking at Fangraphs. Did they have 89 wins last year? That's what Fangraphs telling me. But I find that hard to believe. I can't.
I think they would have been.
That.
I mean, I think that would
89 wins.
Yeah, no, it would have been right there.
Did they make the playoffs?
No, so because I remember that there was a whole thing right at the end of the
didn't.
season where it was like between them, the Mets, and the Braves, right?
And they didn't
win. And were they the team that was on the outside?
Yeah,
okay,
and they had a surge late in the season, I remember, and they just did not win.
Yeah, because I remember on this channel, actually, we were following along with, like, which one of those three teams would make it.
Yeah,
I just forgot that, like, they were one of the ones on the outside looking at. Either way, sucks for them, but still a solid year nonetheless.
Dude, solid. I mean, they had a better year than the year that they made playoffs. That's just the way it goes.
And made the World Series.
They made it to the World Series, right? And now you could even argue their team got even better. And also, this is a good thing to transition off to include in this topic. They also traded for Josh Naylor this past holiday season. So now you're looking at a lineup that looks like this. Corbin Carroll, he had a bounce back at the end, so hopefully it's a full good season next year. Ketel Marte, one of the best second basemen in all of baseball. Josh Naylor now in that lineup. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Jake McCarthy, he batted .285 with a slugging of .400. Okay, Jake McCarthy. Eugenio Suarez. And then this is where I get a little shaky. Pevin Smith apparently batted .270 with a slugging of .547. Gabriel Moreno, good defender. And then I don't know who this guy is, but he's a shortstop. Whatever. That's a good lineup. And then you have Corbin Burnes, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, Jordan Montgomery, Brandon Pfaadt.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
No, I mean,
that's going to be an even better team, I think, in my opinion.
100%. And there's a lot of upside in that lineup. There's a lot of upside in that rotation. Like across the board, it feels like there's stuff to like there if you're an Arizona Diamondbacks fan. I mean, I obviously can't say that you're going to win the division or anything like that.
You can't say you can't.
But it is coming to a point where like that division is arguably one of the toughest ones in baseball, right?
I was just thinking that. Like everyone says the AL East. Hell no.
Not anymore. No, with the Rays falling off and the Jays falling off,
and then the Orioles, like they're good, but they haven't done anything.
I think they're still good. Yeah.
They're still good. I think they're going to be in the mix, but they're not going to be like looking at what Yankees have done. I think they're obviously the favorites to win the AL East again. But like you just had Corbin Burnes leave your team. That's a big loss. They got to find a replacement for that guy. Like who's that? Who's going to be their Corbin Burnes next year?
The Baltimore Orioles right now they're not doing the second step of what they need to do in kind of like their window. Like they did the rebuild better than anybody I've ever seen, and they're still reaping the rewards because there's still going to be prospects that are coming up here. So it's not even like the rebuild's officially over. Like there's going to be more of these prospects coming up in this coming year, top ones too, guys that you should look out for, guys that could win Rookie of the Year. But they're at a point now where like now it's the second step where you got to go out and you got to spend some money and you got to be aggressive in free agency, and I am wondering like what are you doing? Like it's fine to let Burnes walk and it's fine to let Santander walk, but you got to bring in something else here.
Like they brought in Tyler O'Neill to replace Santander effectively.
Okay,
we'll see where he goes.
We'll see if that works. That's good enough.
That's good enough. That's a not a bad replacement right there. They signed Gary Sanchez as their backup catcher, and they did make that one signing from Japan. I'm gonna butcher his name, but Tomoyoku Sagono. Yeah, I don't know.
Don't look at me, man. I don't know.
I don't know much about that guy, but they added him to the rotation. Like maybe that's a dart throw right there.
Right.
But the rotation is him, Grayson. You got to hope for a good full year of healthy Grayson. Dean Kramer, he's got to come back and be good. Zach Eflin's just a dude. Trevor Rogers, you got to have that guy be good. Remember they traded for him?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, like they need a lot of things to hit, and there is a bit of hopium unless they go interested in free agency or trade market. But there is a bit of hopium right now, and if they want to stay competitive in the AL.
Yeah, I mean, if I was them, I'd feel a lot more comfortable walking in next year with Jack Flaherty in that lineup. That's somebody that's
give Jack Flaherty back.
Still on the market. Like, I'd feel a lot more comfortable bringing that guy in.
You know what? That's actually a perfect signing that they need to go do. I mean, they
wouldn't cost as much money as Burns did or anything like that. You could probably get him on I don't know, $80 million a year. Well, not a year, sorry, but like you know what I mean.
$80 million total.
$80 million total, something like that, right? You could get it done. So I would definitely feel more comfortable if I was Baltimore Orioles fan, but I do wonder, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It does feel like Yankees are, even after losing Juan Soto, taking steps in the right direction, and Boston's certainly doing so right now. So, yeah, your point is valid. They got to pick up their socks.
They got to pick up their socks, and speaking of a guy who is like about to leave probably the Baltimore Orioles, let's talk about Anthony Santander's market right now. It's actually came out yesterday night at 10:30 p.m. Angels and Tigers are now joining the Anthony Santander sweepstakes. I love we're getting to the point where now the Angels are.
Wow.
Hey, do we have a chance?
Yeah, I guess the money has gotten low enough now.
Oh,
that they're like, oh shit,
maybe we can sell a few more tickets
on this thing.
Yeah, right. And then Tigers, they're in the mix now. They went and they got Gleyber Torres, which actually feels like a very solid adding on their part. I mean, yeah, it's not the Alex Bregman that they're looking at right now, but you're going and you're filling out that infield. You're just trying to find ways to to make it make sense for you just to like bench Javier Baez by finding guys who are a little bit better than him. But Anthony Santander, he's the other kind of bigger bat in that mix with Bregman, and you got Pete Alonso. What is going on with him, man? Like, it feels like he's taking his sweet ass time right now.
Well, it just feels like with some of these older guys, I think Bregman's a bit of a different story. Well, actually, no, they're all kind of the same. They're all looking for big time money, and nobody wants to give it to them because, again, and we were talking about this kind of months prior, but every single one of them, for various reasons, has their question marks.
Right.
That's just the way of it, right? Bregman's got some question marks. Santander certainly some question marks. Pete Alonso, I mean, we talked about him earlier. They all have their question marks. The upside for all of them is great. The upside is they go to the All-Star game, they'll get MVP votes, right? All three of them.
A lot of home runs.
Yeah, they're all there, right? But I mean, Santander is effectively just Pete Alonso of the outfield. Correct me if I'm wrong, but defensively speaking, he's not anything to write home about. I don't think so.
Let's see. I'll go look him up. But I mean, the difference here for Santander Pete Alonso. Santander is coming off his best year, arguably, with the home runs, right? And he had some MVP votes. He got a Silver Slugger. He went to the All-Star game. So it's like he's coming off his best year overall offensively, right? So you could make an argument, well, people are then questioning, well, is he going to be that guy or is he going to be the guy of the past? The only value, and I've said this lots of times, he had 44 home runs. That's why he's coming off his best year. But he's never hit over 40 before. The highest was 33. So he had 11 more than his previous total. So it's like is he this guy? Is this the outlier year?
It's hard to be paying somebody like that, to be it's hard to pay him 40 home run money.
Yeah.
When, let's face it, I'm probably projecting you to hit 30, right? And whereas for Pete Alonso, and I guess this is the difference for me anyways, he hit 34 last year, but I'm kind of projecting you'll probably get closer to 40, assuming you're healthy in the following year, right? I don't know, maybe we're doing him a disservice. I got his baseball savant page right here. He hit the ball with authority. He hit it well. The expected batting average was low, which you expect. He did have a batting average of 235, which is also going to go against him. He's not a super contact guy, never really has been. The chase percentage is high there too. So he really is your typical slugger, right? I'm going to strike out. I'm going to have a low batting average, but when I get hold of it, I'm gonna fucking send it. So do you believe that he's gonna send it 40 plus times, or do you not? And right now it feels like teams are kind of leaning on we don't think he's going to do that. I also did pull up his defensive metrics. They're below average. They're not going to, completely sink your season or anything. But, again, he's an outfielder, and you want your outfielders to be pretty good. He's got a outs above average in the 28th percentile and an arm strength of 23. So, not good, definitely. So, he's certainly losing value there. It just feels like with him and with Bregman and with Alonso, there are definitely reasons to like them, but there's also reasons to not like them, and teams are leaning more to the not liking them side.
Well, I mean, I could also throw this into the mix. Teoscar Hernandez going to the Dodgers for 3 years, $66 million, I believe it was. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez is, 2 years older than him?
3 years older than him?
He's 32. Santander is 30.
Oh, is he 32? Yeah. Okay, maybe I thought he was 33.
They're actually very similar in birthdays, so shout out to them. They're in the Octobers. But you see that guy go over there who had obviously I think we can all agree, in terms of not as many home runs. He only had 33. Teoscar Hernandez, but he had a better WAR, he had a better batting average, better OPS, better slugging.
It's close.
You're I mean, and then you see him go back to the Dodgers, where you're getting $22 million per year. It's like, okay, this is kind of the bar for that corner outfielder who's in the middle to back half of their career almost, and that's the price.
Yeah,
so,
and as we remember, I mean, I think it's improved a little bit, but Teo was never really the best offender.
Yeah,
so I'm just going to assume that they're
let's say
that they're around the same right there.
Yeah.
So,
and then you have Teoscar Hernandez with a better track record than Anthony Santander in terms of just overall consistency and overall better numbers in his career. So it's there you go. That's the kind of bar, I guess. So, if he's getting 22, well, is Santander getting 20? Is it a 3-year, $60 million deal? What does it look like?
I don't think so, because again, you are factoring in the age a little bit there, and I do think that being 30 is a big difference from being 32. I would argue that. I don't know. It's tough, and I think that's why there's a lot of people out there that don't know. But
because the same thing again, argument with Pete Alonso is well, he's coming off his best year, but the past years have been good. But this is a really great year. Is he gonna do it again? Kind of thing like that. Whereas Pete Alonso is well, he's coming off a bad year. Is he gonna continue this way? There's a little bit of question marks there in terms of the performance and how long he's gonna do it for. So and then the rumors out there was he was looking for a 4 to 5 year deal, but he wasn't really getting a lot of bites on that. So I could see him getting a 3. Maybe he does opt-outs. You never know. He could do something like that.
He could do some opt-outs. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like he should be a 4-year guy, and I also think that he should I think he should at least get the same amount of money per year as Teoscar Hernandez. I don't know though. Again, it is tough to really understand how these MLB teams are evaluating them. Clearly, nobody is chomping at the bit to get him, or else he'd already be signed.
Yeah.
Right? Clearly, that's the case. Obviously, there are some people that have some reservations, and whatever price he is currently asking for is too high because they're just not willing to pay it right now.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
And again, I really do think that whole market of Teoscar Hernandez, once he's signed, it's okay, now we go back to negotiation, and it's all right, well, this is what he got, so maybe things are changing now, and we're taking a little bit of time before he gets it done, right? And maybe it didn't help him out, but that right now is the market on all those guys. Want to talk about Alex Bregman before we transition here?
Sure, yeah. A quick note on Alex Bregman is effectively the Tigers actually are very much in the mix for Alex Bregman, and they're looking like one of the top favorites, which I love to see because, Detroit's just been so bad for quite a long period of time, and their season was so magical last year that, it is nice to, just nice to watch them, go after it and be aggressive in the free agent market.
Yeah.
However, they are not willing to spend the $200 million that Alex Bregman is asking for. I get it. That is a lot. This is a, 31-year-old. He is now coming off of a very good year. Offensively a little down. Defensively a little up. Pick your poison. What do you like? What do you not like? He's a great player nonetheless. Yeah. It just really does come down to the fact, is he a $200 million guy? They are going to be up against the Toronto Blue Jays once again. Actually, not the Giants, excuse me. They are not in this one because they got Matt Chapman. But the Mets are in it.
Yep.
And there's two other teams, too. I think the Mariners.
No,
the Yankees, they're out now after going out and getting all those guys. I mean, maybe they're still kind of talking, but I'd be pretty surprised if they went out, especially for an Astro too. They don't. I feel like that wouldn't go over well. But anyways, that's kind of the market right there for Bregman. Like I said, it's similar to all these other guys. He wants a lot of money. People see some problems or holes in his game. They don't want to pay him that much money. I hope for everybody's sake, like, can we get it done before February, please?
Right. And you know what? I don't even think there's like too many problems with Alex Bregman's game. It's just like, are you going to regress? It's like he's kind of like on the slow decline, like very slow. He's still a very good player, but it's like a slow decline. And, when is it going to be, that, $200 million, whatever that AAV comes to, when is that going to start becoming a loss?
Yeah, it's the thing, right? Like, ultimately, he had a great WAR last year, won a Gold Glove, and still a very quality baseball player. But he had a 768 OPS, and like, let's do the math right now. Okay, he's 30. He's going to be 31 when the season begins next year. If you give him $200 million for, let's say, 7 years,
what is that?
I don't know. Like, it's a lot though. It's a lot of money, and the question is, do you want to pay, like, let's say it's $30 million a year, $30 million for a 768 OPS, and then have him till he's 38? Like,
exactly.
It's like, oh shit, like this could age really badly.
Like, if there's anything that's going to age bad, it would be that.
It would be that.
I mean, just look at you're looking at it probably too, the stats. It's just like, everything's kind of just, it's a very slow slope. It's a very slow slope.
That's the thing. I want him. I still definitely want him. Like, if I'm an MLB team, it's just like, you got to ask yourself, like, are we willing to pay him, $30 million a year? And is he going to, because that's the thing. If you could promise me that you did at minimum what you did last year, okay, I'd consider giving you $30 million a year. If you can give me a Gold Glove and like solid offense and a 4 WAR every year, okay.
Well,
but I don't think you can guarantee that till he's age 38.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what that might mean? You might do a little Matt Chapman and get a 1-year player opt out. Let's do it again. And that was the whole thing with Matt Chapman. Let's do it. Matt Chapman did it, but did it better, and then he got paid by the Giants. Right, and he kind of got the deal he was looking for. So maybe Alex Bregman goes in next year, gets 1 year, opt out, high AAV, and then boom, tries to test the market again after a good year.
I could see him doing. I personally think that Bregman is going to sign a long-term contract. But I think it'll be Corbin Burns that's going to have opt-outs.
He's going to have opt-outs. Like, there'll be maybe a 7-year, but after year 1 or probably year 1 or 2.
Like, it's not going to be for as much money as he wants it to be, but like maybe it's a 150 type thing. 150, with, like after 2 years.
And the first 2 years are like really high,
right?
And then that makes the team feel good about if you suck while you're getting paid that, and then if he's really good, then he can take that money and profit.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
I think it's going to be something like that, but we'll see how it all goes down. Let's give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, of this channel, of this podcast, Betway. Everybody, go hit your picks, knock it out of the park, man. What lines do we have for today?
Well, we got more Monday Night Football. This is the second last Monday Night Football of the season.
Yeah, last football game of the year.
I know, last football game of the year. Like, it's crazy how fast this stuff goes, but it would have been a really good one if the home team would have been good this year. San Francisco 49ers 6-9, nice. Up against the Detroit Tigers, who are just brutally injured right now, but they still Detroit Tigers. They're talking baseball right now. The Detroit Lions, who are brutally injured right now, 13-2. You've got the Lions obviously favored at 1.5. Their money line, or 1.5 is the multiplier, everybody. And then San Francisco Giants is 2.75. What are you thinking for this game? What do you like?
It is a tough one to really evaluate, especially because, and I don't know this. I do know this, but there might be some other mitigating factors, so I'm not entirely sure. And we know that Dan Campbell's crazy. However, all that being said, this game, from my understanding, actually means almost nothing to Detroit,
Right.
because next week they play the Vikings, and that game is going to decide the 1 seed in NFC.
No matter if they win or lose this
That's
one.
my understanding.
Right.
Yeah, so there could be some tiebreakers or some shit that I don't know about if they lose or whatever, but from my understanding, it actually just all comes down to next week.
That's true.
So, like, this game actually doesn't mean anything for them. So, again, we know that Dan Campbell's nuts in insane mode.
Right.
You know, and, like, he'll just go, he wants to win.
Right.
But considering how injured they are,
Right.
like, I would if I was them.
Yeah.
Take my foot off the gas.
Yeah, but you're right. Dan Campbell could just say, F it. Let's go win every single game because that's the kind of team
that's
that we are.
the kind of team that he is. But ultimately, like, it's just one of those things where if this week doesn't matter and next week is all that matters, like, we'll see what happens.
How does he take the foot off the gas? Does he rest guys? You know,
I would consider it, like, like, if depending on, like, I might kind of treat it a bit like a preseason game. Honestly,
Right.
I don't know if he's going to do that. He probably won't because he's a crazy guy. But I would also be telling my guys as well, like, run out of bounds,
Right.
or like, don't run through a hit, or
right.
we'll see what happens.
Maybe
but
I'd take the San Fran spread then. Maybe I'd take the +3.5 and. Maybe it's a closer game than we think.
Just something to, like, something to note, man. They're really, really hurt. I assume they don't want to get more hurt on a meaningless game, especially when playoffs is coming up. And especially, can you imagine if they get hurt in this game, then they go and lose to Minnesota, and then they're in the wild card all of a sudden, and it's like their whole team is fucking injured. Like, they want that bye just to get healthy, and the only way to get it is to win next week.
That's
just
true.
Food for thought, everybody. I don't know if I can tell you exactly which way to go. Like, obviously, if I had to bet my life, I'd bet it on Detroit just because, like, they've been proven to do it all year long.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of things to think about in this one.
No, absolutely. It's a good insight. I like it. So, let your picks be known in the chat down below if you really want to go and gamble on it. Join the action, guys. Link is in the description, and click or scan the QR code to join all of the action available in Ontario. Only must be 18+. Please play responsibly. Speaking of betting, they came out with the Vegas betting lines for the MLB win total over-unders over the holiday season, and I always love it when they come out with the lines because then you can kind of get confirmed of what you felt about certain teams, or you can start to disagree with Vegas and how you feel about certain teams. So we got all the lines right here. We won't go through all of them because else we'll be here forever. But you got the lines too.
Yeah,
what are some notable kind of lines here that you maybe would smash over under? What do you think?
Okay, well, I was actually thinking about this. My content creator brain's always on and everything like that. I was thinking this is a great clip for social media. So shout out to our editor who's going to cut this up later. But, I think that this will do well, everybody. Los Angeles Dodgers right now, their line is 101.5 next year win total. That is what their win total is, 101.5 wins for the LA Dodgers.
That's a lot.
The Chicago White Sox are at 50.5 wins. 51.5 wins, or 51,
50.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
50?
50
51?
and a half. They got to have 51 to get over.
Yeah. They are literally more than half the win total, according to Vegas, of the LA Dodgers. So my question to you is, if these two teams played 162 games against one another, like, how many games would LA actually win? Because it feels to me like Vegas is, by what we're seeing right here, they're not even in the same fucking league.
No, I mean, you'd have to assume that LA is going to win more than 101, and they're going to lose, more than whatever it would be, like 100 and what would that even come to? 121, 122 games? Yeah, I mean, I'd say LA wins like 120, 125 easily.
Like, I genuinely, that's the thing. Like, if the LA Dodgers went up against the Chicago White Sox for 162 games, I don't know if Chicago wins 20 games.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, who do they even have, dude? They don't have anybody on their effing team. Now that they traded Garrett Crochet, what is this team? Dude, their ace is a guy named Jonathan Cannon. Have you ever heard of a guy named Jonathan Cannon? I haven't.
I don't know, man.
Sean Burke, Davis Martin, Bryce Wilson, Drew Thorpe. Oh, I know Drew Thorpe, actually.
I do know Drew Thorpe.
Came from New York Yankees, so there you go. Yeah, that's it. That's all I know. Wow, that's brutal.
It's so abysmally awful, man. And, like, when you look at these lines and you see that LA's at 101.5 and Chicago's at 50.5, it just goes to show that they're not like sure they play in the same league,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not actually in the same.
The Sox
league.
are a AA team at best.
The Sox are a
They're
AA team at best, and honestly, that you can tell me right now, I'm smashing the under on 50 and a half. I'm shocked that it's that high.
They got worse. You know, sure, you lost Eloy Jimenez. He wasn't that great, but you haven't made a single signing, and you lost Garrett Crochet. You're getting worse.
And what? Like is there some momentum that I don't like? People are talking about selling the fucking ball team, guys. Like, I am smashing
I'm
the
smashing
under.
the under.
I don't even know if you're going to get to 30 wins.
And you know what? I'm smashing the under. Yeah, I know, right? I'm smashing the under, and I'm going to smash the over on the Dodgers, too, because they're a better team than they were last year with that rotation, and you're getting a full year. Potentially full year. We'll see if he may not start the year in the rotation, but Shohei Ohtani. Yeah. I'm smashing the over. I don't think they're done yet. You know, you got back to Teoscar Hernandez. Like, what did you really lose?
Nothing.
Walker Buehler, who was bad for you.
But you got Snell.
You got Snell.
Who's better.
And then you might
And then you probably are going to get Sasaki.
Yeah.
Which is, we haven't actually heard about him in a while, but
we haven't. I think like the Dodgers actually met with him, but like
everyone's been meeting
with him, you know. So I'm going over.
I would also smash the over on Dodgers, though. Guys, let us know in the comments down below. 162 games, Dodgers up against the White Sox. How many did the Dodgers actually win? I'm saying over 130 minimum. What other lines here do you like?
Yeah,
don't like.
Or don't like? Well, I do. I actually. Well, it depends on the way you look at it. I like it for making money.
Yeah.
I like this line for making money. It's the San Francisco Giants, and we talked about them a lot earlier. Like, they did get a little bit better. The rotation's kind of the same, but they did get a little bit better in that lineup. They may not be done yet, and I think honestly they're going to finish off the year adding some sort of arm because they did miss Corbin Burns, so they'll get somebody in that rotation. But their line is 79.5, and they won 80 games last year. Did they get one game worse than they did? I don't think so. They got another new year coming up with their rookies that looked pretty promising, and that's why Willie Adames signed there in the first place, and they added him too, obviously. Like they're like, oh well, this is a promising start of a new kind of window for these Giants. So I'm gonna go over on the San Francisco Giants. That one, even though they are in the NL West, I think they'll win games for sure.
I get it, man. I do like it a lot. It feels a bit disrespectful, and honestly, I think a large part of it is the fact that we're projecting them to be the fourth team in that division. Yeah. So I think they're projecting that the other teams are going to beat up on them a bit, but I don't think they're going to be as free as some people anticipate. Also, speaking of that division, I know that they cannibalize each other. Arizona Diamondbacks line at 83.5 seems kind of reasonable. You know, like they go out and they get Corbin Burns. We talked about it in this podcast already. The lineup looked pretty good. You know, we've already kind of broken it down. They won 89 games last year. They're obviously hungry to go back to the playoffs, so they've hit the over on that 2 years in a row. And I think that you could argue that their team is better than it was previously. So
I agree.
I kind of like that one to hit the over right there, honestly.
I agree. That's actually a really good over right here. Now, one team I'm going to actually smash the under on, it's the Mariners. 84.5 wins. I don't
like the Mariners.
I don't like the Mariners. What did they get last year? If my memory's
something around that, I thought.
Let's see. Mariners win total. They got 85. Okay, yeah. You know what? I don't know. Maybe I'm biased, but like, what have they done to get better? You know, they're gonna probably trade. What's his name? Oh my gosh, Castillo. They're probably gonna trade Castillo.
Yeah, that's questionable.
You know, very weird behavior.
Why you're doing that.
You know, like you haven't really improved offensively at all. Like what are you guys really doing over there? You know, you're gonna lose out on some guys going to free agency, like some minor guys. You know, they already lost. Ty France basically fell off the face of the earth. I think he's a free agent, or then they traded him. But anyways, he's gone from their team. But there's not really a lot of momentum there for me. I feel like they're gonna regress a bit.
I get it. I do understand. Like I don't know, man. That division for me, again, like I don't love projecting divisions and stuff like that because like. You know, you play a lot of games, but it does feel like there's no superpower there, and I don't really love Houston. I don't really love the Rangers, even though they're giving these guys 84.5 wins. I don't know about all that. Like, it's a tough one. I would frankly personally, I'm staying away from the Mariners line, but I get where you're coming from there. One line that I'm not staying away from, though, and eventually we'll give you an under here, but the Milwaukee Brewers having 82.5 wins to their name, like that to me, just like they consistently win their division year in and year out.
Right.
I don't see any like major superpowers over there. I know that they lost Devin Williams, but
and Willie
Adames as well. I think that the Brewers are a little different than what we predict. They lose guys every single season, and they always do it. And last year they won how many games? 93.
Yeah,
that's just a significant drop off for me. And like I still think that there's a reality where they're not as good, and they still hit the over there. So
yeah, I mean their lineup is it's getting younger. I mean they got Jackson Churio at the top, Christian Yelich, Wilson Contreras. Gary Mitchell had a decent year last year, but then it kind of falls off of that. So the lineup is going to be their lineup. They still got Freddie Peralta, and are they going to get back Brandon Woodruff? I think they are going to get back Brandon Woodruff this year.
I believe so.
And then after that, like we'll see what Aaron Savali is, who's Toby Myers. They got Nestor Cortez now in that Devin Williams trade. Like obviously it's regression, but is it?
Is it 10 wins?
10, 11 games?
That's a lot of games right there, you know? And I personally think that the Milwaukee Brewers are at minimum a 500 team.
Right.
And frankly, I think they're a bit better than that. So I would feel comfortable taking the over on that one, man. Is there any other unders that they really like here?
Yeah, I mean, fuck, the A's? Could the A's be an under? However, I will say this. There might be an advantage because the A's are playing in Sacramento. I mean, the same argument that a lot of teams had coming in when the Blue Jays played in TD Ballpark in Florida during COVID year or 2021, teams were like, well, this is a minor league ballpark, and the Jays got used to it. They were like, well, I'm in this shitty facility. What is this? I'm not used to this. This is out of my routine. And then they won a lot of games in TD Ballpark. Maybe Sacramento's that same thing. But still, they are the A's, and is really Luis Severino going to be the difference maker for these guys? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, man. Yeah. Like it's going to be rough sledding, I think, for the Oakland Athletic or Sacramento Athletics. Excuse me.
Or not, just the
Athletics.
The A's. But I know we're not really high on the Blue Jays, but are they only 6 games, less than the Toronto Blue Jays? I don't think so.
Yeah, probably. Well, yeah. All those lines are a little funky, honestly. Yeah. Like I kind of like the under on a lot of those.
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them.
If I'm being completely honest with you, I might even like the under on the St. Louis Cardinals actually at 76.5.
After they got rid of Goldie and
they're getting rid of Goldie. Like Arenado is probably leaving. It feels like no one really is looking at winning there, and I think they're kind of walking into this season with the mentality of we're just gonna see what we got and rebuild a little, retool a little bit, bring in some outside talent, all that stuff. Isn't that fucking wild, man? We'll talk about this on our Blue Jays Today show later, but like, we're apparently trying to be competitive, and this other team that's clearly trading away their guys and like showing no real, passion to be competitive. We're at the same win total.
We're sandwiched between that team of we're rebuilding and another team which has never been good in a decade. But we're trying to compete. That's right.
No, it's bad.
Like literally the only team you could argue you have to get all the way up to the San Francisco Giants before you start getting into like we're going to try to compete next year. Like Pirates aren't going to be competing. Let's be real. They haven't done anything this offseason. Like this is embarrassing.
Yeah, it is embarrassing, man. I also, I guess to wrap this up, I'm gonna give my classic one that I give every single year. Yeah. Give me the under on the Tampa Bay Rays. 80.5 wins right there. They ain't any good, man. They're no good. They don't even have a fucking roof now, actually, for crying out loud.
They don't have a ballpark. They're going to be playing in Florida this year, or obviously not. The spring training facilities for the Yankees spring training facility. That's sad that they got to go to the Yankees spring training facility because they don't even have one of their own.
Dude, again, like MLB's got to figure their shit out, man. Like it's just like what other major professional, sporting league can you think of around the world that, has stuff like this? Like a team that doesn't even have a city associated with it. Another team that's like now living it. It's just it's bad.
That's the whole argument. I mean, like the whole thing is with the whole A's is like, that was just I did actually look at a couple videos online, but the whole thing, we can talk about this forever, but we'll wrap it up quick. But the whole thing with the A's was like their management was like, their ownership was like, well, if we just move to Sacramento, they'll give us more money to then go to Vegas. It's a weird thing. I was looking into it, but like it was a whole scheme of like, well, we're going to purposely not build a new city here in Oakland. We're going to leave because it's better financially. It's a whole thing, but that's a whole other
all
topic.
about the money, man.
It's all about the money.
Very, very annoying. You guys let us know in the comments down below, though, which over-unders do you like right now? Where is your team located? Are they projected to have a good year, a bad year, or a Chicago White Sox year? You guys let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to Bad for Baseball, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.